Let's jump right into this continuous narrative recap. The story kicks off with Officer K, who's a new model replicant working as a Blade Runner. He's approaching this Wallace-designed protein farm with one specific mission: retire an older, rogue model named Sapper Morton, a guy who used to be a combat medic back on Calintha.
Right away, things get intensely physical, and Kay ultimately executes Morton. But before he dies, Morton looks at him and delivers this haunting line. He says, "And you new models are happy scraping the shit because you've never seen a miracle." Well, Kay is about to see one because he finds a military footlocker buried under a dead tree at the farm, and inside, meticulously cleaned human-looking bones.
Which brings us to the core mystery: the replicant child. When they analyze these buried bones back at headquarters, they discover an absolute biological impossibility. The bones belong to a female replicant, sure, but there's a fine point scalpel notch right on the iliac crest. That indicates an emergency C-section. This replicant died during childbirth. She was actually pregnant. Now you can imagine the psychological toll this takes. Kay has to go through this incredibly rigorous baseline test just to prove he's stable, repeating phrases like cells interlinked within one stem. His superior, Joshi, is absolutely terrified by the discovery. She believes that if people find out replicants can reproduce, it's going to break the wall that separates human and replicant, leading to a massive, catastrophic slaughter. So she gives Kay a direct, absolute order: erase all traces of this replicant child. But of course, Joshi isn't the only one who wants the child. Enter Wallace. He's this blind, almost godlike replicant creator, and he is absolutely desperate to unlock procreation. He boasts about creating the good angels that took humanity to 9 new worlds, but he says he needs millions more replicants, basically an infinite disposable workforce, to conquer the stars. Because he can't figure out how to breed them himself, he sends out his ruthless enforcer, Love, to track Kay's investigation and secure this miracle child for him. Meanwhile, Kay's investigation is starting to seriously mess with his own head. He begins recalling what he always assumed was just an implanted, fake memory from childhood. In it, he's hiding from these aggressive boys, and he stashes a small wooden horse toy inside a dark furnace. But here is the crazy part. He remembers the date 6/10/21 carved underneath the horse. That is the exact same date Kay found carved into the dead tree at Sapper Morton's farm. So, Kay digs into the DNA base, searching for anomalies on that specific date, 6/10/21. And what he finds is startling. The system spits out 2 identical DNA records for a boy and a girl, both processed at the Moral Coal Orphanage. Now, basic biology tells us identical DNA between a boy and a girl is impossible. The official records claim the girl died of Galatian syndrome, and the boy? He just disappeared. Following the investigation trail, Kay travels out to this incredibly harsh orphanage run by a guy named Cotton. He discovers that the records for that specific year have been suspiciously wiped clean. But as he's physically searching the building, he looks inside a dark, abandoned furnace and finds it. The actual, physical wooden horse from his memories. It's not just a digital implant in his brain, it's a real, tangible artifact. This completely upends Kay's reality. I mean, wouldn't it upend yours? His customizable AI companion, Joy, who, by the way, affectionately calls him Joe, pushes him to believe that he is the miraculous child. She tells him, "I always told you, you're special, born, not made." This is a huge turning point, pushing Kay to go find the one person who can actually verify what's inside his mind, the creator of replicant memories. So he goes to visit Dr. Anna Stelline. And her situation is really uniquely tragic. She is this brilliantly talented memory maker, but she lives her entire life confined behind a massive glass wall because of a compromised immune system. She was locked in this sterile chamber when she was just 8 years old, which ironically made her exceptionally good at imagining the outside world. That's how she creates such authentic, emotional implants for Wallace's replicants. Kay asks her to analyze his memory of the wooden horse and the furnace. He needs to know, is it real or is it an implant? Dr. Celine watches the memory play out on her scanning monitor. She starts tearing up and she tells him, "Someone lived this. Yes, this happened." Hearing that, Kay just snaps. He violently kicks a chair, screaming, because in that moment, he is entirely convinced that he is the born child everyone is hunting. Totally shattered by this, Kay goes back to headquarters and, as you might expect, completely fails his next baseline test. He literally cannot repeat required phrases without emotional hesitation. He knows his life is forfeit now, but Joshi actually gives him a secret 48-hour head start to get his act together. So Kay hands over his gun and his badge, and he officially goes rogue.
Now, to protect her data from the authorities who are definitely coming for Kay, Joy makes a really profound sacrifice. She asks Kay to delete her completely from the main console in his apartment, transferring her entire existence into this fragile, portable emanator. She knows the stakes here. If that device gets crushed, she is gone forever. Just like a real person. Free to chase down the truth, Kay traces a subtle radiation signature left on that physical wooden horse. It matches the signature of a dirty bomb, which leads him straight out into the highly contaminated, dusty ruins of Las Vegas. And out there, among the abandoned casinos and giant statues, he finds the former Blade Runner, Deckard, who's been living in total isolation with apparently millions of bottles of whiskey. Deckard finally explains what happened all those years ago. He confirms the mother of his child was the replicant Rachel, and his original plan was strictly focused on survival. Deckard says his only job was to show them how to scramble the records, cover up their tracks, and then he had to walk away forever. He had to become a total stranger, so his child wouldn't be hunted down and dissected. But they don't exactly get much time to bond. Wallace's forces, led by Luv, have managed to track Kay's location. They launch this massive, brutal ambush right there in the ruins, bombarding the entire area with missile fire. Luv coordinates the strike from her ship, blowing Deckard's hideout to pieces and severely injuring Kay in the process. As the dust settles from the explosion, Luv walks over to a beaten, bleeding Kay, and she is just ruthless. She delivers this crushing, sarcastic line asking, "I do hope you're satisfied with our product," right before she stomps her boot down and crushes Joy's portable emanator. Joy is permanently destroyed in an instant. Then, Luv captures Deckard and literally leaves Kay in the dirt to die. Luckily, Kay is narrowly rescued by the replicant resistance. He wakes up and meets their leader, Freyja, who actually used to fight alongside Sapper Morton. She reveals they've been building a massive underground army, and to them, this born child isn't just a person. It's the ultimate proof that replicants are more than just manufactured slaves. It proves they are their own masters. And right here is where Freyja shatters Kay's reality all over again. She casually mentions, "I dressed her in blue when it was time for her to go." Her. The miracle child was actually a girl. The boy was just a decoy they used to hide her. In that second, Kay realizes he simply possesses the girl's implanted memories. He's not the chosen one. He's just a standard replicant who imagined he was special. So the absolute truth finally clicks into place. The real miracle child? It's Dr. Anna Stelline, the memory maker living behind the glass. Because it's highly illegal to use real memories in replicants, she had been secretly embedding her own authentic childhood memories, like hiding that wooden horse in the furnace, into standard replicant models like Kay. She was quietly giving them a piece of her own humanity. Meanwhile, back in the city, Wallace is intensely interrogating Deckard. Wallace is desperate to know where the child is hidden. To break Deckard, he actually manufactures and presents a flawless, brand new clone of Rachel. But Deckard just looks at her, coldly notes that her eyes are the wrong color, and completely rejects the clone. Frustrated that his trick didn't work, Wallace orders his people to take Deckard off-world for far worse torture. Now, the Resistance had tasked Kay with a grim job: assassinate Deckard before he can reveal their secrets to Wallace. Kay remembers Freyja telling him, "Dying for the right cause is the most human thing we can do." But Kay makes his own choice. Instead of hiding, he takes his heavily damaged spinner and flies right into a massive storm to intercept Wallace's off-world transport convoy midair. What follows is this incredibly brutal final battle. Kay physically forces the transport vehicle out of the sky, crashing it down into the churning seawall. Inside the rapidly sinking ship, Kay and Luv get into a vicious, desperate hand-to-hand fight as the water violently rushes in. It all ends when Kay finally overpowers Luv, drowning her beneath the surface so he can free Deckard from his restraints. Kay pulls Deckard onto the rocky shore, and then he does something brilliant. Instead of executing him like the Resistance ordered, Kay looks at him and says, "You drowned out there." By faking Deckard's death in the transport crash, Kay permanently protects him. Wallace will think he's dead, the Resistance will think he's dead, leaving Deckard completely free to finally reunite with his family. In the final sequence, Kay brings Deckard right to Dr. Stelline's facility. He encourages Deckard to go inside, and the father finally gets to look at his daughter, Anna, through the glass barrier. Outside, his mission complete, Kay peacefully lies back on the snowy steps.
As the snow falls over him, he quietly succumbs to his massive combat injuries, a replicant who undeniably achieved truly human legacy. And it leaves us with this incredible thought. If our memories are what actually shape our humanity, does it really matter whether we were born or simply made?